Kleptomania. Uncovering the sinister that lies behind something stolen.
Mom, please. Why do I need to wear this dress? Can't I wear trousers like those boys at the playground near Grandma's house?
Yuki could only smile in bewilderment as she listens to her daughter Nanako complaining. All the dresses that she had pestered Yuki to get her, only last year, had now been stuffed into the bottom drawer, in the hopes that Yuki would not pick any of them out for her, every morning, as she got dressed.
What's wrong, baby? I thought you used to love those dresses.
Mom, don't call me that. I'm going to be 8 next month.
Yuki must admit that she had been spoiling Nanako, her only child, with Hiro. This is not quite the typical Japanese household, or any other household for that matter, as both parents work full-time. Yuki a surgeon and Hiro an oncologist, at the largest prefectural hospital, very near from where they live. Their grueling schedule makes it hard for the family to spend their time together, even on the weekends, but they would always make sure to eat breakfast together every morning. Today was no different. After breakfast, Yuki would rush Nanako to get dressed, and while doing that, as usual, she would pick out an outfit for her.
Okay then, just hurry up and put on your trousers or any shorts then, we need to leave soon, and Grandma is waiting for you.
Yuki and Hiro would drop her off on their way to work, at Yuki's parents' house, that is also just a few blocks away from where they live, and even closer to the hospital. She had grown up in the same neighborhood her whole life. Call it fate, but her late father was also himself a surgeon at the very same hospital. Everyone knew and respected the late Dr. Suzuki AG. Contrary to the serious nature of his profession, he was a down-to-earth doctor who never took himself and others too seriously. Despite his humble nature, he had made a name for himself as one of the best surgeons in the whole country. Therefore, when his daughter had joined the same hospital almost 2 decades ago for a fellowship, under his wing no less, there was no surprise that she had turned out to be every bit as capable as her father was. When he died in his sleep last year, at 82, thousands had turned up to attend his funeral. And out of all, Nanako was probably the one that was hit the hardest by his passing. Growing up, her grandfather was her favorite person. He would always get her anything and everything she had ever wanted. And on top of that, they would spend many hours just being together, with him telling her all sorts of stories, from when he was young, to taking her for numerous out-of-town day trips to nearby places. Because her parents were always busy, however, her grandparents had inevitably taken over the role in raising her. While feeling grateful for their support, Yuki and Hiro had recently felt that it was perhaps time for them to step up to their roles as more engaging parents to Nanako. They had vowed to be more involved in her life, and had done well so far, but would soon question themselves. The only reason why Nanako would want to dress up like those boys at the playground near Grandma's house is so that she could have pockets. Otherwise, where else would she keep all the things that she had stolen from her friend's house? You see, recently, during the school break, Nanako had befriended some boys and girls at the playground, where she would hang out ever since her grandfather had passed. Her grandmother, not nearly half as adventurous or interesting as her late grandfather had been, had apparently failed to entertain Nanako. Not the stories she told, nor the bicycle rides they took to the nearest convenience store, would ever replace the fun she had with Grandpa. Only Grandma's cooking would lure her back indoors. Therefore, unless it was lunchtime or dinner time, Nanako was nowhere to be found. Her friends would often invite her over to their houses, and when they were not looking, Nanako would take every opportunity to slip something from their houses into her pockets. No one would of course suspect Nanako, for she is the granddaughter of the famous surgeon, the late Dr. Suzuki Eiji, and the daughter of Hiro and Yuki, both distinguished doctors in their respective fields. Parents were in fact happy that their kids could hang out with Nanako. She is eloquent for her age, extremely intelligent, although a tad bit mischievous, but which 8-year-old is not? What they did not know for sure is that she is a kleptomaniac. She has an impulse control disorder, succumbing to the desire to steal whatever that caught her eyes, always something of little value if at all. She would empty her pockets every single evening at her grandparents' home, before heading back to her own house, in order not to bring home any evidence. Because her grandmother is now living alone in the big house, it is easy for Nanako to hide her stolen treasures, tucked away safely, at the dark corner, in one of the many rooms upstairs.
So, did you make any friends at the playground?
Hiro asked Nanako one night at the dinner table.
Yes, of course, Dad. We had so much fun today at Jiro's place. They have a pug at home. They call him Frank.
You mean the Kobayashi family? I think I know the mother. Yuki, isn't she one of the medical recorders working on the same floor as us?
Oh yes, we've spoken several times and I remember her mentioning that Jiro and Nanako are friends. So you've been over to their house?
Yuki asked excitedly, feeling relieved at the same time that Nanako had finally made friends her age from the neighborhood.
Yes, I've made 5 new friends from the playground: Jiro, Hirose, Yuko, Kenta, and Jun. And yes, I have been over to their houses,
Nanako proudly announced. The only reason why she was not able to befriend the neighborhood kids up until now was that, unlike the rest of the kids, she has been attending an international school. Although not far from where they live, the tuition fee for international schools far exceed that of local public schools, and therefore, only wealthy parents could afford to send their kids there. When Grandpa was around, she would hang out with him instead. She did not feel the need to make friends other than the ones from school. Hiro and Yuki felt happy, knowing how well their daughter was adapting to her new life without Grandpa. Nevertheless, they had advised her not to be a nuisance, especially when going into somebody's house, to which Nanako nodded while grinning. Days went by, and the school break was finally over. The kids went back to their public schools and Nanako to her international school, where she continues going around stealing stuff, forever lucky, always uncaught. One day, not long after, Grandma had expressed a desire to sell her house.
I'm thinking of selling the house, now that your father is gone. I don't need all this space. And at my age, it's hard to clean, what with so many rooms.
Yuki and Hiro were more than happy for her to move in with them, as they too live in a house way too big for only the 3 of them. They had kept the news from Nanako until the whole thing was finalized. They were sure that Nanako would be happy to have Grandma lived with them. She could have all her favorite food anytime she wants. Because of that, they were taken aback when Nanako had seemed distressed after breaking the news to her. What used to be her safe haven for storing all her stolen things is now at risk of being sold. Where else could she keep all those stolen things without being caught? That weekend, as soon as she had finished her breakfast, Nanako made her way to Grandma's place. She had wanted to collect all the stolen things that she had kept hidden at the dark corner in one of the rooms for many months now. She had made space in her own room at home to hide them instead. Behind the drawers, where her parents would never reach for. Nanako, who had underestimated her parents' ability to tell if something was wrong, was completely unaware that both, who had by now grown some suspicion towards her, had decided to follow her quietly from behind. They observed her going into the room where she had so cleverly hidden the stolen things. After having enough of looking at her, taking out various random things from behind the cabinet, and completely lost as to what was happening in front of their eyes, they decided to confront her.
Nanako, what are you doing?
Baby, what's all this?
Did you follow me?
Nanako started crying, feeling betrayed and panic all at once. Knowing that it was now finally impossible for her to escape, it did not take long for her to reveal the truth about what she had done. Hiro and Yuki were understandably upset. They felt at fault and wondered where they had gone wrong. After collecting everything that she had stolen into a box, Hiro and Yuki wasted no time in contacting a psychiatrist from the same hospital where they worked. They were lucky enough to have all the support and resources in order to help them understand Nanako's mental condition, known as kleptomania. That night, they had painstakingly gone through all the stolen things. They wanted to identify, if possible at all for them, to return all the things back to their rightful owners. Most of the things were thankfully insignificant, like nail polish, a few pairs of cheap earrings, some pens, and even figurines, among other random things. Until they came across a tin box. Tightly sealed, impossible to open without a tool, like a screwdriver, for example. Nanako had clearly not made an attempt to open it, as suggested by the condition of the tin box. They have absolutely no idea why she would go on to steal something that looks so dull. However, when they shook it, they started to feel the appeal that Nanako might have felt when she did the same. There seems to be something inside of the tin box. Something that felt dense. Partly because of the weight of the object from within it, but the clanking sound was not that of a metal, nor that of pebbles, or even erasers, as far as their imagination could take them. Yuki then reached for the screwdriver, and opened it, without much thought. After opening the tin box, what she saw next made her scream. Hiro, who had witnessed the whole thing, was utterly horrified too. There, inside the now open and dull-looking tin box, lies a severed, mummified thumb. Unfortunately, it was not fake, and needless to say, they could not sleep that night. When morning came, they decided to place every single thing that was stolen onto the table, to try and see if Nanako could remember exactly where she had stolen the things from, with special interest on the origin of the tin box containing the severed, mummified thumb. Last night, upon Yuki's inspection, it was clear that the thumb had been severed carefully, judging by the clean cut. As a surgeon, it was clear to her that someone had intentionally removed the thumb from somebody, for whatever reason, and it seems like the person knew what they were doing. It was not an accident. She was sure that something sinister had happened. Who does the thumb belong to? Nanako could not remember from where she had stolen all the things from. The most she could tell was that they were taken from either Jiro's, Hiroshi's, Yuko's, Kenta's, or Jun's house. She could not even remember stealing the tin box. It was clear to her parents that Nanako had no idea what was inside the tin box, and after much deliberation, had decided to put on hold the idea of returning everything to their owners. What they fear most is the repercussion of being identified by whoever the tin box belongs to. What if it was not meant to be found? What if whoever that was involved in the severed thumb belongs to a cult or a gang? They were not ready to face the possibility. Somehow, years had gone by, just like that. Grandma, who had moved into their house and had lived with them for several years, had also decided to join Grandpa a few years back. And Nanako had, of course, been receiving counseling and treatments over the years for her kleptomania condition, and has improved by leaps and bounds. Being in high school now, she has turned out to be just exactly like her grandfather. Extremely intelligent, but humble and down to earth, with special interest in biology, especially in the human anatomy. When asked, she would tell people that, just like her mother and grandfather, she wants to be a surgeon. And believe it or not, some more years have gone by, quite uneventfully. Until one day, a little boy came into the Department of Pediatric Surgery at the prefectural hospital for an appendectomy. He was scheduled to have a surgery to remove his appendix that morning. And the doctor in charge was none other than the granddaughter of the late Dr. Suzuki Eiji, and daughter of Dr. Yuki and Dr. Hiro. Nanako had gained quite an outstanding reputation as one of the top pediatric surgeons in the hospital. And that morning, as she looked into the eyes of the little boy to reassure him that the surgery would be just as quick as taking a nap and waking up again, she noticed something in his hand.
I have a few just like the tin box you're holding right now, you know. What's inside?
Nanako asked playfully, to which the little boy answered with,
Secret.
Nanako paused. The answer was not quite as she had expected, but just like that her expression had quickly turned into a grin.
Mine's a secret too,
she said. The operation was but a piece of cake for her. They were done in just an hour and the little boy could go home the very next day. Now that she has her very own place, Nanako did not have to hide. And just like Grandpa, she now has her very own collection of tin boxes, arranged neatly, stacked on top of one another meticulously. Some bigger than the other, all arranged by size, into a cabinet at the corner of her room. A flashback from 3 decades ago, when she had accidentally saw her grandfather opening one of his tin boxes. At first, she was shocked to see the severed thumb sitting inside the tin box, but when Grandpa sealed the tin box tightly, while looking into her eyes, grinning, and whispering,
"It's our secret, okay?"
she felt at ease, convinced that Grandpa knows best. She remembers. In one of their out-of-town trips, he had carried a bag of tin boxes with him. He had driven them to some secluded woods, where he had made a bonfire. He had thrown all but one of the tin boxes into the fire. And he had given it to her for keepsake, the one that he had sealed tightly. The one with the severed thumb inside. Nanako now walks around the hospital, carrying the legacy of her grandfather. Not only that, she walks around all day long with pockets. Though of course, she is no longer the kid who would drop random things like cheap earrings or figurines into her pockets anymore. You would not want to know what is inside her pockets now, do you? Although you can probably guess it. The question is how? And why? Thank you very much for watching and subscribing. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to stay tuned.